Why can't Western leaders accept that they have failed in Ukraine? Since the war started, voices in the alternative media have said that Ukraine cannot win a war against Russia. Indeed, John Mearsheimer has been saying this since 2014. 4 years into this devastating war, those voices feel at one and the same time both vindicated and unheard. Ukraine is losing, yet Western leaders in Europe appear bent on continuing the fight. Nothing is illustrative of this more than Kaya Kallas's ridiculous comment on the 10th of February that Russia should agree to preconditions to end the war, which included future restrictions on the size of Russia's army. Comments such as this suggest Western figures like Callas still believe in the prospect of a strategic victory against Russia, such that Russia would have to settle for peace as the defeated party. Or they're in denial and or they are lying to their citizens. I'd argue that it is a mixture of the second and third. When I say losing, I don't mean losing in the narrow military sense. Russia's territorial gains over the winter period have been slow and marginal. Indeed, Western commentators often point to this as a sign that, given its size advantage, Russia is in fact losing the war, because if it really was that powerful, it would have defeated Ukraine long ago. And on the surface, it might be easy to understand why some European citizens accept this line, not least as they are bombarded with it by Western mainstream media on a constant basis. However, most people also at the same time agree that drone warfare has made rapid territorial gains costly in terms of lost men and materiel. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that since the second part of 2023, after the failed summer counteroffensive, Russia has attacked in small unit formations to infiltrate and encircle Ukrainian positions. Having taken heavy losses at the start of the war using tactics from the 20th century, Russia's armed forces had to adapt and did so quickly. Likewise, Russia's military industrial complex has also been quicker to shift production into newer types of low cost, easy build military technologies like drones and glide bombs, together with standard munitions that Western providers have been unable to match in terms of scale. And despite the regular propaganda about Russian military losses in the tens of thousands each month, the data from the periodic body swaps between both sides suggests that Ukraine has been losing far more men in the fight than Russia. And I mean, at a ratio far greater than 10 to 1. Some Western pundits claim that, well, Russia is advancing, so it is collecting its dead as it moves forward. But those same pundits are the ones who also claim that Russia is barely moving forward at all. In a different breath, you might also hear them claim that Russia is about to invade Estonia at any moment. Of course, the propaganda war works in both directions. I get that from the Western media and, of course, from the Russian media. But I take the view that discussion of the microscopic daily shifts in control along the line of contact is, in any case, a huge distraction. The reality of who is winning or not winning this war is, in any case, not about a slowly changing front line. Wars are won by economies, not armies. Those Western pundits who also tell you that Russia will run out of money tomorrow, it really won't, never talk about the fact that Ukraine is functionally bankrupt and totally dependent on financial gifts which the EU itself has to borrow in order to provide. War fighting for Ukraine has become a lucrative pyramid scheme, with Zelensky promising people like von der Leyen that it is a solid investment that will eventually deliver a good return in terms of golden toilets until the day the war ends, when the EU citizens will ask where all their tax money disappeared to. Russia's debt is 16% of GDP. 730 billion of reserves, its yearly trade surplus still healthy, even if it narrowed over the past year. Russia can afford to carry on the fight for a lot longer, and I mean years longer. Ukraine cannot, Europe cannot. And that is the point. The Europeans know they can't afford the war. Ukraine absolutely cannot afford the war, even if Zelensky is happy to see the money keep flowing in. Putin knows the Europeans and Ukraine can't afford the war. In these circumstances, Russia can insist that Ukraine withdraws from the remainder of Donetsk unilaterally without having to fight for it, on the basis that the alternative is simply to continue fighting. He can afford to maintain a low attritional fight along the length of the front line, which minimizes Russian casualties and maximizes Ukraine's expenditures of armament that Europe has to pay for. That constant financial drain of war fighting is sowing increasing political discord across Europe, from Germany to France, Britain, and of course, Central Europe. Putin gets two benefits for the price of one. Europe causing itself economic self-harm, while at the same time going into political meltdown. That is why Western leaders cannot admit that they have lost the war, because they have been telling their voters from the very beginning that Ukraine would definitely win. Europe's leaders are hiding from the political reckoning that they will face as their voters wake up to the fact that they were lied to all along. Who will want to vote for the likes of Merz, Macron, Tusk, Starmer, and all these other tin pot statesmen when it becomes clear that they have royally screwed the people of Europe for a stupid proxy war in Ukraine that was unwinnable? What will Kaya Kallas do for a job when everyone in Europe can see that she's a dangerous warmonger who did absolutely nothing for the right reasons and who failed at everything that she did? And Zelensky is wondering where he can flee to when his number's up. My bet would be Miami. So if you're watching the Frontline every day on the Institute for the Study of War website, you need to step back from the laptop. When this war ends, Putin will engage with Europe, but from a position of power, not weakness. That is a real battle going on here.